All right, guys, today we are going to be covering section 3.2 again and finishing up these functions. Yesterday, what you had to do was evaluate functions. What we're going to be doing today is actually writing the equations of them, or we are going to be taking a look at equations of functions and matching them with their graphs. So kind of like what we did last unit with graphs, but just a little bit different. We're going to be actually matching them up. So you won't actually have to graph them. You'll just have to figure out which one is which. So first thing we have to talk about is how to write an equation. And we've done this before, and there are a couple of steps that you'll need to follow. Step one is that you are going to need to find the slope. So when we are writing equations or writing functions, so to write a function, very first thing you need to do is find the slope. Once you have identified what the slope is, then you are going to write your equation in point slope form. And we'll be walking through an example so you can see what this looks like. So write the equation in point slope form. And then after you've written the equation in point slope form, then you're going to change to function notation. Because remember, these are all functions. So if you have a y in your equation, you need to get rid of it. So these are the three things that you are going to need to do today in order to write a function. So let's take a look at an example. So for this example, I'm going to give you a table. So if I had x, y, and then let's see here, I'll draw a nice little table here. Let's see, we have a 1 and a 1. We have a 2 and a 4. We have a 3 and a 7, and a 4 and a 10. That worked out nice. So very first step, and I'm going to number these. So step one is we need to find the slope. So to find slope from a table, I think that we all kind of found this to be the easiest way is when you were given a table, is you have to figure out how is y changing and how is x changing. And you don't need all of these numbers. You really only need the first two. So to figure out what slope is, it's the change in y over the change in x. So to go from 1 to 4, I go up 3. To go from 1 to 2, I go up 1. So to write my slope, you write it y over x. So 3 over 1, which is 3. So we have a slope of 3. Once you found your slope, now you need to write it in point slope form. That's where you're going to need to pick one of these points. So either 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 7, 4, 10, whichever one is your favorite. Point slope form is y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. So we know m, and we can figure out what an x1 and a y1 are. So I'm going to, just for the sake of argument and because I just like to use the first numbers in my table, I'm going to use 1, 1. This is my x1. This is my y1. And that's what I'm going to plug in here. So now I'm going to have y minus y1 is 1 equals, here's my m, x minus x1 is 1. So this is in point slope form. This is point slope form. Now, what I didn't put up here, write in point slope form and convert, my bad, to slope intercept. We have to have y by itself in order to change it to function notation. So we will have to change it to slope intercept form. So that's what we're going to do now. So this is my point slope form. To get it in slope intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So to get it in y equals mx plus b, there are two steps. First step is to distribute. So we're going to distribute the slope to the inside. And we get y minus 1 equals 3x minus 3. Notice the parentheses are gone now. Then after we distribute, we move whatever's with y over to the other side. So we have a minus 1, so we do the opposite operation and add 1. So we have y equals 3x minus 2. So that is our slope-intercept form equation. We have a y-intercept of -2, a slope of 3. Now, the third thing, the very last thing you need to do is change it to a function. And to change it to a function, all you do is you take this y and you change it to an f of x. So our function is f of x equals 3x minus 2. And that would be your final answer. So main thing, if you're getting these wrong on Go Formative, it's probably because you don't have the f of x and you just have a y. So be careful with that. The other thing that you're going to be doing today, or what we're going to be looking at, is graphing. Your problems today will just be matching graphs, but I just want to review, I guess, graphing. When you are graphing, first thing you do is you plot the y-intercept. It's that number that's on the end. After you've plotted your y-intercept, you use your slope to find the second point. So let me walk through one example and try to keep this short for you today. So how you're going to be graphing. Like I said, you're not really graphing today, you're matching, but you need to understand which graph goes with which. So if I gave you the equation and I wanted you to graph f of x equals -x plus 1. So you're going to graph this or identify the graph the same exact way that we did before, like this had a y. So a couple of things I notice here is that my slope is the number that is in front of x. My slope is -1, which is -1/1, because you have to write it as a fraction. And then my y-intercept is whatever's being added or subtracted on the end. So my y-intercept is 1. So to graph it, and again, you're not graphing today, but I'm just going to show you how this graph would look. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, making my own graphs here. So when you are graphing or when you're identifying, first thing I would do is always look for the y-intercept. So this one has a y-intercept of 1. So it has, my very first point is at 1. This is my x-axis. This is my y-axis. So y-intercept 1. I should have a point on 1, or my graph is crossing the y-axis at 1. Now I have a slope of -1/1. So that means from my y-intercept, I go down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. So it's negative, which means my line should be going down from left to right, and it is. And then you just play connect the dots. Ooh, that's bad. And there's what your line should look like. So these lines are exactly the same as what we had done before in last unit. So that's kind of nice. It does carry over. But please make sure that you are matching them correctly and you know why the graph is that one or whatever. So today you are going to finish up the rest of that Go Formative from yesterday. You have until 11:59 tonight to do that. And then it will be shut down. A lot of people have been asking about how to submit missing assignments. Please look for that post or send me a message and I can resend you that YouTube video on how to do that. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, guys.